Harekrishna. This is a new record. I'm a little early and you're all here.
Because you're leaving.
Yes, it's true. Wow. How are you doing, mister?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Fortunately, I'm leaving from starting Friday.
Oh, wow.
I mean, starting Saturday.
Saturday.
Yes, it'll be a sad day.
So, nobody, there's no class?
I asked them to give class, but they keep complaining that no one shows up. Maybe if you'd promise to show up. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha ISKCON be found in our churches, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhadrakacharya Astotartha Shishiman's Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Can we open that door, Tapas? Not too wide. Let some air in, keep the noise out. You figure out how to do it. No noise, less puff of air. Now, Marcy, I'm counting on you.
Oh, I have page 14 or 15.
Oh, that's quite a spread. Let's see. All right, we did there. No. Okay. Oh, we didn't read that. All right. Let's start the second paragraph of page 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 7th day of September 2016 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in the introduction, page number 14. Second paragraph. Vedic knowledge is not imparted by such defective living entities. It was imparted into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma in his turn disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples, as he originally received it from the Lord. The Lord is Purnam, all perfect, and there is no possibility of his becoming subjected to the laws of material nature. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that the Lord is the only proprietor of everything in the universe, and that he is the original creator, the creator of Brahma. In the 11th chapter, the Lord is addressed as Prapitamaha, because Brahma is addressed as Pitamaha, the grandfather. And he, the Lord, is the creator of the grandfather. So no one should claim to be the proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things set aside for him by the Lord as his quota for his maintenance. So we're still channeling the Ishopanishad here. Those who are familiar with the Ishopanishad, Prabhupada's going through. But before we continue, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So one of the things that Srila Prabhupada does in his books, especially at the beginning of the Ishopanishad, if you read the Ishopanishad, which I highly recommend, there's a nice introduction where Srila Prabhupada talks about these 4 defects and how they disqualify the conditioned soul from understanding absolute knowledge or transcendental knowledge by his own efforts. Because the definition of transcendental is beyond the range of the mind and senses. So we're using our imperfect mind and senses to try to figure out something that's beyond the range. So obviously it's going to be a distorted understanding or a misunderstanding. So periodically you'll find, as here, which Prabhupada is referring to the Ishopanishad, he is establishing the authority of the revealed scripture, whether it's Ishopanishad or the Bhagavad Gita as it is, or the Srimad Bhagavatam or the other books Srila Prabhupada has given us. Now what makes them different from an ordinary book that someone will write? The answer is, first of all, we need to contemplate these 4 defects of the conditioned soul, which is mentioned in the previous paragraph before we started. A mundaner, he says, the last, second to last sentence, is sure to commit mistakes, is invariably illusion, has a tendency to cheat others, and is limited by imperfect senses. With these 4 imperfections, one cannot deliver perfect information of all-pervading knowledge. So I like to think of them in kind of a certain order that makes sense. This is one order. But we start out trying to get knowledge, and how do we do it? Well, with our senses. Of course, when we are educated, we immediately go to books, right? There's the authority of the teacher in his book. So there's someone who's more knowledgeable than us who we can't really check on. You know, we have faith that what's in the book and what they're teaching us is true, right? And to a certain degree it is when it's dealing with mundane knowledge. There's certainly so much mundane knowledge that could be corroborated that we accept as true, and this way we live in the world. If every morning we woke up and we had to figure out what to do, you know, and what's true, and what's a road, you know, what's a car, I mean, we wouldn't live like that, right? There's so many things that we accept as true, and they were true yesterday, and they'll probably be true today, and this way we go on with our lives. But all of that relative knowledge doesn't help us in our quest for the ultimate goal of life, which is beyond the limitation of these senses and mind and all of this world that we're in right now. So let's think of it this way. We have limited senses, which means that oftentimes we're deceived by our senses. Certainly we can't see past this wall. Or even if we can see, the example is given of the sun, right? So to a child, the sun's, you know, it's a little disk up in the sky. That's all he knows. Later on, he'll learn that, oh no, it's 93 million miles away. I mean, I've heard Prabhupada give these figures. And it's, how much? 14,000 times as big as the Earth. Because it's so far away, therefore it looks so small. Okay, Father, I accept this true, or whatever, the teacher. Now I've got a whole different perspective of what the sun is, right? But we can't figure it out on our own. So whatever we figure out by our own senses is certainly defective. So when we use our senses, when we have the scientific method, which is the ascending method, it means we gather information, right? You study the history of science, and that's what it is. You know, and we revere those who made a breakthrough, who came to a conclusion by further observation. Who was it? Was it Galileo who dropped something off the Tower of Pisa? The Leaning Tower? Pisa, I'm sorry, not Pisa, Pisa. But there was something about, oh yeah, how to figure out how fast things are accelerating, right? You know, Tapas, you're a scientist. It's 16 feet per second, right? And every second it's going, especially in a vacuum, something that is free fall will increase, accelerate at 16 feet per second. Is he sure it's feet, or is it kilometers? Or, yeah, meters or something. Anyway, so that was discovered at a certain point, and now from now on we can use that in figuring out things like in building. So this is the way science increases, but it's limited. And every scientist will tell you, like medical science is it's unlimited. Even though they know so many things more than they knew just 50 years ago, you know, they'll all tell you, yeah, but we had really no idea how the brain works or how this aspect of thing works, or you know, whatever. So there's always more to understand, because the senses, even if they're expanded by microscopes, telescopes, and all these other things, they're still limited. So the big thing is we have senses and we make mistakes, right? Like, you know, the Earth is flat, you know, was a classic, right? Until I don't think it was Columbus who was the first one to go off, but you know, they went on in the ships, and then someone said, look, we can only see the top of the ships. You know, we can only see the top of the sails way out there. I remember reading about this. You know, this is an indication. Maybe it's right. Maybe it is round. You know, maybe it's not all. And so, sure enough, they went out and they didn't fall off the edge of the Earth, and then eventually we came, okay, it's round. You know. So we have imperfect senses. We make mistakes, and when we make mistakes and we keep making those mistakes, then we call it an illusion, really, or a delusion, right? And the big mistake that everybody makes, we're the body. Right? Everyone will say, of course I'm the body. My name is such and such. I'm so and so old. This is my gender. This is my language. This is my family. All in relation to the body. But that's the first lesson of the Gita. You're not the body. Right? The body is temporary. The soul is eternal. The body is the conscious principle within the physical body. But you can't see it. You can't know anything about it with your senses, because your senses are so crude. So that's the big illusion. Imperfect senses, you make mistakes, the mistake is continued, everybody agrees, you know, in the false information, you know, and because of that, we get totally deluded that we're the body. And then you teach it to others. That's called cheating. You're teaching something that's not true. So imperfect senses lead to mistakes, and when the mistakes are carried on and corroborated, you know, corroborated by everyone, then it becomes a powerful delusion. And then that's when we pass that on to the next generation, that's called cheating. So those who have these four defects, which is everybody except the realized souls, they cannot give you any apaurushaya knowledge. This apaurushaya simply means superhuman. Purusha means human being, person. Apaurushaya means beyond the limitations of human beings. And that's the knowledge we can get from Krishna. So really, all the transcendental knowledge has to start with Krishna, because he's the transcendental personality, the perfect personality par excellence. You know, if he doesn't know, forget it. You know? He knows. That's our faith, right? That's what the Bible gives. So getting the knowledge, having faith in it, enough faith in it to act on it, that's the key to entering into the process of devotional service, which is, after all, a great mystery. You know, we have the deities, we have the holy name, we have all of these things which, when you think about it, are ways in which Krishna makes himself available to us who are really, you know, bound up by these gross senses. We can't see the pure spiritual form of Krishna.
right? Or even if we have faith that it exists. So he appears as the deity, Archa Murti. Archa Murti means the Murti you can worship, even in your present state. That's what Archa Murti is. Archa Vigraha, the same thing. So what is it? Okay, well, superficially it's stone or wood, but we know it's not really stone or wood. It's Krishna appearing through stone and wood so we can see him and serve him nicely. Same thing with the holy name. We can hear sounds vibrating. You know, if you analyze the sound, Krishna, right? They can do with their instruments and everything. He adds vibrating and such a thing in his, you know. But that's not what we experience as the holy name, right? We experience Krishna present there. We experience him reaching out to us by manifesting himself as the holy name. That's why Lord Chaitanya says, Nam Nam Akadi Bahudani Dasarva Shaktis Tatrapita. My dear Lord, Lord Chaitanya is taking the role of a devotee. He says, my dear Lord Krishna, you have invested your names with all your Shakti. And you made them so accessible, anyone, anytime, any place can chant them. We don't know, maybe Tapas, you have some idea, but somebody who is steeped in the Vedic culture, not everybody can chant those Vedic mantras, right? You have to be qualified, and ladies can't chant. You know, but so there's all these restrictions. But for chanting the holy name, there's no restrictions. Krishna can do that. So what kindness! We're sitting here in our little bubble, or more like a well, you know, with a very limited view of reality. And because we don't know anything else, well, this is reality, so let's work with it. But then, if someone comes out and pulls us out of the well and introduces us to the big wide world out there, what a gift that is. What a gift of compassion. That's what Prabhupada is doing here. And that's what Krishna does himself and his representatives. So the books are so important because they're coming through, the knowledge is coming through this chain or channel, say, of pure devotees who are giving it carefully without distorting it. And so we can have faith in the knowledge that Prabhupada is giving. Okay, so Prabhupada is talking about the proprietor. This is, when we understand the truth, is that we don't own anything because we didn't create it. We're just borrowing it, even this body itself, right? So the proper use of the body, or anything else that we come across, is the service of the proprietor, right? Now, this language itself sounds, how do I put it? It sounds like a business, like if you're employed in a shop somewhere. Well, you're not supposed to steal anything, right? And if there's a sale, well, the money has to go in the box. Can't go into your pocket. I'm just an employee. Right? So we know that, although some people do it anyway. So, but factually speaking, this whole world is Krishna's shop, and we're just employees. We're meant to do that. But the wonderful thing about it is that the proprietor, he's not out to exploit us. He doesn't need us. He's out to help us. It's our benefit to use everything, including this body, in the service of the Supreme Proprietor. That's our natural position. We're all in an unnatural situation. We don't need these bodies. This Prabhupada always quotes this verse. He loves this verse. Ishwarak savabhutanam videshedanatushchati brahmayan savabhutani yantrarudani mayaya. That the Supreme Ishwara, Krishna, he's in the heart of every living entity who are wandering around this universe on bodies made, on machines made of the material energy. That's what these bodies is, not just these bodies, any living organism that we see. Organism is a good word for us, although Prabhupada didn't use it. It means the combination of a soul and some kind of body. That's an organism, right? Whether it's a mollusk, on the ocean, or it's a whale, or it's a human form. So we're wandering on these machines. So when we see the body as a machine, rather than a vehicle for enjoyment, which is our great illusion, then what's the machine for? It's for connecting the soul to the Supreme Soul. And that's the proper use of the body. And by using the physical body as well as the subtle body, the key is more important. The mind always comes before the physical activity. Mind, intelligence, and ego. then we can actually get rid of this material body. This can be our last birth, you know. But we're not just after liberation. We want to go back home, back to Godhead, you know, to be reinstated in our original position as loving service of Krishna. Never to make this mistake again. You know, once burned, twice shy. So Prabhupada always, Krishna says, Yadgad Bhavana Vartanti. Going there, you never come back. So Prabhupada is laying out the basic philosophy here, all in the introduction. This introduction, by the way, if you're interested, it's recorded. You can actually hear Prabhupada speaking it, as opposed to the rest of the Gita. All the tapes and everything are not extant anymore, but this one is recorded. All right, if there's any discussion, we can go, or otherwise we'll go on. There are many examples. That's where I am. Yeah. There are many examples given of how we are to utilize those things which are set aside for us by the Lord. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, Arjuna decided that he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. This was his own decision. Arjuna told the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsman. This decision was based on the body because he was thinking that the body was himself and that his bodily relations or expansions were his brothers, nephews, brothers-in-law, grandfathers, and so on. Therefore, he wanted to satisfy his bodily demands. The Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord just to change this view. And at the end, Arjuna decides to fight under the directions of the Lord when he says, Kadishye vachanam tava, I shall act according to your word. In this world, men are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. Men must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like ordinary animals. A human being should realize the aim of his life, and this direction is given in all Vedic literatures, and the essence is given in the Bhagavad Gita. Vedic literature is meant for human beings, not for animals. Animals can kill other living animals, and there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature: the activities of goodness, of passion, and of ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables also: eatables in goodness, passion, and ignorance. All of this is clearly described, and if we properly utilize the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified, and ultimately we will be able to reach the destination which is beyond this material sky. Yadgatvananavartante tadhama paramam mama. Which means once going there to that world, my abode, one doesn't return. That destination is called the Sanatan sky, the eternal spiritual sky. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. That is the law of the material world, whether we use as an example this body or a piece of fruit or anything. But beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have information. That world consists of another nature, which is Sanatan, eternal. The Jiva, soul, is also described as Sanatan, or eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatan in the 11th chapter. We have an intimate relationship with the Lord, and because we are all qualitatively one, the Sanatan Dhamma, or sky, the Sanatan Supreme Personality of God, Supreme Personality, and the Sanatan living entities, the whole purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatan occupation, or Sanatan Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are temporarily engaged in different activities, but all of these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. That is called our pure life. So, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is actually very revolutionary, to say the least. There's a nice verse in the 5th chapter, 1st canto, where Narada Muni is speaking to Vyasadeva and encouraging him to write the Bhagavatam. And he says, Tad Bhagavasargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pati Shlokam Abandhavatyapi. He says that language, a Vagvisarga, is a literary work. Vag means words, and Visarga means any creation. So a creation of words means a literary work. So that literary work, which is meant to bring about a revolution. It's called Janata Aga Viplava. The word plava means boat. Viplava means capsizing the boat. That's kind of a metaphor for revolution. And Janata Aga Viplava. Aga means sin. So this civilization, as we have it now, especially Kali Yuga, is very sinful. It means that everybody is working against the laws of God. That's what sin means. And there's suffering because of that. People, out of ignorance of what's best, people commit all kinds of activities. They have no idea what they're doing. And they're committing gross sin and getting more and more entangled in a life of suffering. So the words that are meant to revolutionize the society by glorifying the Lord, that's the definition, that glorify the name, fame, qualities of Krishna. Even if not so perfectly written, they're accepted by learned sages and repeated and so forth. Now this verse is very important for our whole movement. You know why? Because Prabhupada himself took this verse and put it in his preface and explained that even though I know my English is not that great, he didn't say it in those words, but that was what he said. And it's full of all kinds of mistakes. Still, I'm going to write it. And if he hadn't written the Bhagavatam, the first canto, he wouldn't have come to America. He felt he had some substantial ammunition. He had these boxes. He had no money, no followers, but he had these boxes of Bhagavatam, which is Krishna personified. But the first canto, if you try to read what we call the Delhi Bhagavatam, which I'm working with every day right now, the Delhi Bhagavatam is the Bhagavatam that he printed himself in New Delhi at great effort over three years, from 60 to 62. He was working on writing that Bhagavatam. Imagine, no real money. He would have to go around and beg people, please help me. And when he finally came out with the first volume, that was very important because he could use that in order to get more donations, you see. So somehow or other, he got it printed. I have the actual volumes that he brought over in my department, if you want to see them. Not facsimiles. And but why did he do that? Well, one of the reasons why he did it is because, the effort is sincere, and he's doing his best. But I'm telling you, the language, is crude. Not crude, I wouldn't say crude, but it's hard. It's difficult for us to read in the present state. We need an edited version. But still, he wrote, on the basis of this verse, because it's accepted and has potency. And when the devotees in America read those books, they became enlightened like anything, because Prabhupada's faith and the meaning came through, even though it was difficult to read. And that started the whole movement. The books are coming out. So the words are key. And here, Prabhupada is talking now about the modes of nature, this concept. So, the most precious thing we have is our consciousness, obviously. We are the consciousness. But purifying it, the mind it takes on the shape. It's described like a Vaidurya stone. Whatever you put the stone nearby, it takes on that color. So if you expose yourself to influences of the mode of passion, for instance, then your mind will become like that, and that's who you will identify with. And when you decide what to read, for instance, this book won't be a part of the discussion. You'll read some novel, or you'll read something, or get on the internet. Read some. There's a million things you can read, right? And so you'll tend to continue that mode and strengthen it. And unfortunately, in this age, the modes of passion and ignorance are very powerful. And when you get exposed to that, then you sink down. And ignorance is very dangerous. The danger means madness, illusion, violence. All of these things are grown out of ignorance. When you see somebody who's easily angered, and offended, that's the mode of ignorance. The mode of goodness, and especially pure goodness, means that you're completely calm. Even if someone insults you or even physically attacks you, you can remain calm. The perfect example is Prahlad. That kind of tolerance and equipoise is a sign of spiritual advancement. It's all over the Bhagavad Gita, the necessity for that. But that can only come when you train the mind to be fixed on Krishna, and you take shelter of that. There's a nice section of the third canto, which I've dubbed the Sadhu Sangashtaka. which is Kapila Dev's teaching, is Krishna, teaching about the importance of associating with devotees. And because everything is association. There's this nice phrase in the second chapter here, Sangat sanjayate kama. According to what you associate with. And the association comes through all the senses, the sounds, the sights, the taste, the touch, everything. You know, the ideas you can associate with, all of it has modes, you know, and that's just pure. So, you know, it affects you. So as you associate, you develop your desire, you know. And if it's just material desire, then that, you know, it becomes frustrating, you can't fulfill it, you become angry, you know, it's a way downward. So it all depends on Sangha. So he's saying that Prasangam Madaram Pasham, I've been through this several times in this class, that we have to take our very strong attachments and direct them, at least as far as possible, toward sadhus, toward persons who can inspire the mind or attract us to understand the reality, the philosophy, and in this way redirect our consciousness toward Krishna. So by that association, and then you find, well, who are the sadhus? Someone who's very tolerant, who's very merciful, who's a devotee. And by the devotion, what do they do? You know, they're always chanting. They're always glorifying Krishna. Manashriyakata mrishta shunvanti katayanti cha. Hearing and chanting vibrations about me. This is Kapila Dev speaking, the incarnation of Krishna. And by that absorption of the mind, they're not so much bothered by the miseries of this world. This is a key criterion for seeing someone's advancement. If they can, you know, go through this world, which is always full of difficulties, and still remain steady in their consciousness. You know, we saw that in space with Srila Prabhupada. Everyone knows the story how 51 years ago, he's on the boat, right? And he goes through the heart attacks, and you know, he'd never been on a boat like that. And the seasickness, it was very, very difficult. Elderly man, 70 years old, you know. But he remained determined. He writes in his diary, you know, he's writing to Krishna, you know, and he's missing Vrindavan, you know, and all these things. But he's determined it can go on. Who would undertake that? Instead, you know, out of compassion and care. So the gift that he's given us is this knowledge. So understanding how the modes are working and recognizing how, you know, what we can do, understanding the science to stay in the mode of goodness, just ordinary cleanliness and, you know, all these different things. All of that is part of it to purify our environment, but most important, purify our consciousness. And then we can so much better appreciate the philosophy and be enlivened to practice, to advance more, you know, and actually realize. All right, let's go on. That destination is called the Sanatana sky, the eternal spiritual sky. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being. Did I read this? I think I did.
I think we're on this.
Third paragraph. Okay, the Supreme Lord and His transcendental abode are both Sanatan, as are the living entities, and the combined association of the Supreme Lord and the living entities in the Sanatan abode is the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are His sons. Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Yonishu Aham Bija Pradakpita. Quote, I am the father of all. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas. But here the Lord claims that He is the father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all of these fallen conditioned souls, to call them back to the Sanatan eternal sky, so that the Sanatan living entities may regain their eternal Sanatan position in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes Himself in different incarnations, or He sends His confidential servants as sons or His associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls. Therefore, Sanatan Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Sanatan Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Sripad Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatan as, quote, that which has neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatan Dharma, we must take it for granted, on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya, that it has neither beginning nor end. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is eternally integral with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business of all the people of the world, nay, of all the living entities of the universe. Non-Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, but there is no beginning to the history of Sanatana Dharma, because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. In the Gita, it is stated that the living entity is never born and he never dies. He is eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatana Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with a particular object. We conclude that there is heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning to the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal religion. So before we go on, we always come back to this verse in the second chapter, first canto. What is that Dharma, that supreme Dharma? Because we have to recognize that there are different Dharmas which are not really the Sanatana Dharma, but they're a process by which one can improve his life, say. That's why we have these four Purusharthas, which means the goals of human life as given in the Vedas. So we have Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Does this ring a bell with anybody? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So Prabhupada, in this context, Dharma is defined by Prabhupada as religiosity. Not religion, but religiosity. Meaning certain activities that one can perform in order to achieve Artha. See, there's an order here. Artha here means money, economic development. So whenever I think of these four, I always think of at least the first three as the Puritan ethic. Did you ever hear that? When the Puritans came and settled America, right? 1610, 20, 30. So they were going away from religious persecution, but they were bringing with them the strong faith in Protestant religion. So their idea was, in this difficult environment, so they stuck together and had their religion. We won't get into details. But one of the guiding principles that if we work hard and we live upright according to religious principles, we go to church once a week, we do that, then the Lord will smile on us and we'll prosper. We'll prosper in this new world. This was an abiding faith that they had, and it seemed to work, right? So that's Dharma leading to Artha. If everyone was just going their own way, lying around, and not being strict and praying to God and they wouldn't have been able to continue. So Dharma, Artha. Now, what's the use of Artha? With money, what can you do? Well, of course, you can pay the bills, you can put a roof over your head, but you could also enjoy your senses. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, right? Now, in the present age, the people are still professing religion, the belief in God. But the more common religion or faith that people have is in Artha and Kama, without the Dharma. In other words, developing economic development, I don't see how we need God. You know, just invest your money in this and, you know, build that ship and this, you know. Technology is the new God. So this is very dangerous for society because it leads to global warming, which can kill everything. So then, you know, intelligent people understand if they're a little conversant with the Vedic knowledge, that this is not getting us anywhere. This kind of dharma and this kind of economic development and karma is just keeping us bound to birth and death. So what we really should want is moksha, because then we'll be end all our suffering. See, the karma just leads to suffering, you know, but that's what dharma and artha is leading to. So forget about those three. We're going to go for the fourth one, moksha. You see, but the general tendency is seeing moksha as, which it's called liberation, but in a negative way, meaning that these bodies are our enemies. The senses are just attracted to the sense objects, and that leads us to become attached to them, and that leads us to another birth, and more birth and death, and the threefold miseries. So forget it. Let's get rid of these bodies entirely. No more senses, no more mind with all these crazy ideas for sense gratification, you know, and just be conscious. In other words, merge into the white light, to the Brahman, and that'll be relief from misery. But go to the Vaishnavas say no. That's a big mistake, because you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. We have our original spiritual forms with the original spiritual senses, in which we engage in wholesome sense gratification by using them to please the senses of Krishna. That's our actual position. And so, when the question is asked, what is that dharma by which living beings can become fully satisfied forever, eternally, which is like the theme of this whole section, we have this verse: Savai pangsan parodharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje aitukya patiyata hyayatma suprasidati. This is the key verse in the Bhagavatam. So that supreme dharma, that means that there are dharmas that are less than supreme, right? The supreme dharma for every living being is that which engenders, awakens our original bhakti, means loving devotional service, for adhokshaja. Now this word is used a lot when we're talking about the beginning stage of bhakti, because adhokshaja means the Lord who is transcendental, who we can't see, hear, or understand directly. You see? So that requires faith. So when we have enough faith in that transcendental Lord, Krishna, and we undergo those principles that awaken that bhakti, then we're on the path of real dharma. But, second half of the verse, what is the characteristic of that dharma? Ahoitiki and apatiyata. Ahoitiki means no personal motive. You're not even asking for liberation. Lord Chaitanya says, Mama janmani janmani shade. You simply want engagement in the service which is unmotivated and uninterrupted. That will fully satisfy the soul. Now that's not an easy platform to get, because our default is, what's in it for me? What is in it for me? You want me to serve this personality who I don't even know, and you guys work all day, you don't get paid. Forget it, I got to pay the bills, I'm going out to eat. You see, the whole thing is geared toward this body. So the whole process is not intuitive for the conditioned soul. There are so many barriers. And that's why it's not so easy to become a devotee. Certainly not a pure devotee. But that's what will really satisfy us. Because that's our Sanatana Dharma. That is our... See, the word Dharma is based on the root Dri. Every Sanskrit word has a root to it. And Dri, that which supports, that which sustains your existence. We know another word with this root, Dhari, as in Giridhari. He supported the hill, lifted up the hill, see? So Dharma means that which is the intrinsic quality of something. Now the intrinsic quality of salt is that it's salty. If you see a white powder, you're not sure if it's salt or sugar. Well, okay. You go outside the kitchen and you taste it a little bit. Oh, okay, it's salt. Confirmed, right? That's the Dharma of salt, it's salty. So, and the Dharma of a chair is that it holds you up. I like to point out, you sit in that chair, if it's broken and it collapses when you sit in it, it's not meeting its Dharma. It's violating its dharma. It's not. It's a chair in name only. See? So our dharma is to serve. Our intrinsic nature is to serve. We have to serve. I'm not serving anybody. You know, I'm doing what I want to do. I got my little bank account, I'm doing what I want to do. No, you're completely serving. You're serving your senses, you're serving your lust, you're serving your anger. You know, we have to serve. You know, you got to go to the bathroom. It's the call of nature. You can't deny it. You have to serve it. You know, we're completely bound up. We have to serve. But the illusion is that we're independent. That's Maya. That's her trick. You know, and all over the world, everywhere. We're talking about the 4 defects. This is the defect. People are thinking the best interests of my senses is the best interests of me. Now, of course, we have this body. The body's a tool. I call it a machine. You know, it's a tool. We need this tool. The body is very rare and important. Human body. So we have to take care of it. We have to keep it warm and fed and so forth. But the basics. And we can do all of that within the context of Krishna consciousness. Just like eating. When the prasadam comes out, you know, we take it in the proper attitude. That spiritualizes the eating. It's purifying. It's not increasing your attachment to the material world. It's increasing your attachment to Krishna. Especially if you're conscious, oh, this was offered with love for Krishna. He tasted it. I'm tasting his remnants. In other words, you're remembering Krishna. You understand? So there's a way of living in this world so that you can live comfortably enough, but still be Krishna conscious, but your main focus is doing those things that awaken your understanding and your love for Krishna. That's the art and science of bhakti. And then, you know, and the result is Sanatana Dharma. You know, the very concept of eternity is practically alien to us. Just to think of it, you know, because everything we experience is all bound by time, you know. But that's how we have to open our mind. Don't do the things that are just, you know, temporary, that keep you bound to this temporary world. But think broad, Mahatma thinking. What is my eternal benefit, my Shreya? This was Arjuna's epiphany. He said, I can't figure this out on my own, Krishna. Now I'm changing the relationship. I'm completely paralyzed by my weakness, by my confusion. Now I'm approaching you. You tell me for certain what is the best for me, how I can achieve Shreya. Text 7, chapter 2. And I'm surrendering to you as a guru. Right? I'm not your friend. I mean, I'm still your friend, but that's not the relationship I want us to have right now. So that's the mood in which to absorb this knowledge. And then when we read it, it says, okay, I want to go for it. Time is going. You know, this is a great opportunity. Here we are sitting peacefully. The seas aren't rising yet, you know, to inundate this temple. I'm sure you're keeping track how Greenland is melting. You know, I mean, in my small lifetime, there's like a huge list of ways in which the world could easily come to an end, or at least can get very, very difficult to, you know, have a peaceful environment for practicing Krishna consciousness. So let's not waste it. Every second counts. You know, chant Hare Krishna, do service, read, try to advance. Any questions on any of these points? All right. Where were we? I think the English word religion, right? Yeah. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. No, wait a minute, I read that.
I think we're on non-Sanatana religious faith.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I think we're on the next page versus.
Oh, yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Page 17. When Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Sarup of every living being, the Lord replied that the Sarup, or constitutional position of the living being, is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya's, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living beings, a living being serves other living beings in various capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B master, B serves C master, C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend, the mother serves the son, the wife serves the husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in this spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. The voters, therefore, give the politician their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer. The artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves his family. And the family serves the state in terms of the eternal capacity of the eternal living beings. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to other living beings, and therefore we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being, and that the rendering of service is the eternal religion of the living entity. Yet man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to a particular time and circumstance, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or an adherent of any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatana Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian in all circumstances is a servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one's Sanatana Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatana Dharma. Factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and we living entities are his servitors. We are created for his enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for the living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or rendering service to them is not approved. So we have just a few minutes, so I'll wind up because this is going to have a long hiatus here, a whole month. So we will complete this introduction when I return. Marcy, it's your responsibility to figure out where we are. Page 18, paragraph 2. Okay? Yeah, we just finished the first paragraph. So, you know, Prabhupada lays it all out here, and then it goes on quite a ways. But the simple principle is that we have strayed, we have turned our back on the Lord and become illusioned for millions of births. And we have this great opportunity to, you know, blow away or to dissipate that illusion, that cloud of illusion and ignorance, and really be resituated in our eternal nature, which is servants of Krishna. And it's very joyful. We can experience that. What is it about a kirtan? Why is a kirtan joyful? You know, it's not the music. It's not just the beat. You know, it's because of the chanting of the holy name. Now, why is that? Why is that pleasing? Because it's pleasing to Krishna. When we chant and we hear, then that act is pleasing to Krishna. That's why we're pleased. We're part and parcel of Krishna. And he likes it when we glorify him. Not because it pleases his ego or anything like that, but he knows it's the best thing for us. You know? When we focus the mind on him and we glorify and we serve, then the soul is connected, the channel. It gets reopened with you know, the ocean, the reservoir of pleasure that's already there in the heart. You know, this is Krishna. So he's always in Ananda. And we're trying to experience that in the wrong way, through the externals. So when we serve Krishna externally, really what's happening is the connection is opening up between Krishna and us in the heart. And that's why there's pleasure there. And it doesn't diminish. You know, you see how bankrupt it is to try to base your happiness on pleasure of the senses. Because the senses are degrading at every moment. This is why, you know, there's such an industry. Sometimes, you know, I go to the laundry and open up this reader, the SanDiego reader. I don't know if it's because it's SanDiego, but it seems to be more on the bodily platform than any other magazine. You know, anyway, there's this, you know, one page after another, advertisements, how you can have a better body. And then the latter part of the magazine, are you feeling depressed? You know? How do you feel now? You need a psychiatrist? I swear. It's all because of what's going on in the first part of the magazine. but I'm sitting there in the laundry, you know, with my chanting, doing my, you know, Gaudis and Kurtas, and, you know, chanting Hare Krishna and checking out a little bit. And I think, well, look, you know, what didn't I do? Here I am sitting in SanDiego. I've been in SanDiego for 27 years, and I never went swimming. I never went surfing. I never went swimming. I've never gone to the zoo. You know, oh my God, what a waste! I've wasted my time in SanDiego. I didn't visit that zoo, right? People come from all over the world to see the zoo, to see this animal, that animal. Why? You know, I'm just coming here every day, chanting the same sound, seeing the same deity, reading the same books. So how can I be satisfied? You know, why aren't I going nuts? You know, because it's ever fresh. The same book, the same mantra, because it's Krishna, it's ever fresh. You know, and this is why we can talk about eternity. How are we going to be satisfied for eternity in Goloka Vrindavan unless it's new every day, unless we don't get bored? I mean, you can't get bored because Krishna is the source of all of this fresh, wonderful experience. You know, so this is what we should, you know, but the radical thing is it makes all of this stuff completely meaningless. It's just the babbling of sea waves. All of the, you know, the politics and the aspirations and this and that, let's build this and earn this and, you know, go here and do it. It doesn't mean anything. It's a huge distraction. That's what this material world is. Our real business is here, and we should have that understanding. All right, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.